look at Joel. That makes you feel
good to talk to you, Joel. Talking a lot of playoff basketball over here, and we perverted your name. We apologize.
I understand. I don't worry about it. We're very much in the midst of the NBA playoffs. I get that, but for a night and maybe two for tomorrow night, we're certainly going to be locked into the draft.
And we are locked into Joel and only Joel until the Sixers play again. Speaking of the draft, let's start with the Browns. There's been so much talk about them sort of changing who they want, reports of what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. Now it looks like maybe it's Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen. It was Sam Darnold. Who do you think the Browns will take at that #1 overall pick?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because what John Dorsey has done during this process is pretty remarkable when you think about it, because I can't remember the last time that we just didn't have a very good idea of who the #1 pick in the NFL draft was going to be. Now, we've narrowed it down. There's certainly that, but they have held their cards so close to the vest and done a great job of it. Now, we are starting to get some late reports, and I can confirm a few different conversations that I've had. In fact, more than 3 that have confirmed that the Browns are down to actually Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield, and that Sam Darnold might be the one on the out with the Cleveland Browns. So don't be surprised if it's either Mayfield or Allen. And of the 2 players, Allen very much more fits what John Dorsey has done in his past. He's more of a projection type of a guy in a draft from a GM perspective. So my hunch right now, guys, is that Josh Allen, the quarterback for Wyoming, is going to be the first name said tonight in AT&T Stadium. And candidly, that's a little bit of a surprise for me. I thought it was going to be Darnold this whole time, but it looks like Darnold might be slipping towards 2 and 3.
So you believe that the Browns are going to start off like the Browns do and make a mistake with the #1? Right? So Browns start off.
I mean,
Joel Klatt, if you have the #1 pick, what quarterback are you taking?
I'm taking Sam Darnold. I mean, listen, he's the safest player, and they cannot miss on this. Bottom line, I mean, they've had 24 quarterbacks since 2000. CC, 24. I mean, that is an astonishing number. They cannot miss, and I don't care if this is a new regime or not. That fan base, that logo, that brand, they need an answer at this position. And for me, Darnold is the guy because he's the least risky of any of these quarterbacks. He's certainly got the requisite skill on the field. He's clean off the field. He's a good leader. He's a great teammate, and he's a blue-collar guy. I think he fits the city. He fits the team. But, you know, Josh Allen certainly has a lot of upside. But, again, you are drafting upside with Josh Allen. He is a tremendously skilled player, but we have not seen him dominate really at any point during his football life. That would worry me a great deal. At some point, even Tom Brady, who didn't have a great career at Michigan, dominated at certain points. He had several fourth-quarter comebacks before getting selected in the 6th round. Remember the NFL draft. We're talking about the #1 overall pick. So, you know, it would certainly be a kind of a wild name to hear in my head. But that's the way that the Browns look like they're going to go. And again, it could be Baker, still could be Sam, but I think it's going to be Josh Allen.
Joel, I don't know if this makes you stronger or weaker in your convictions, but I totally agree with you that Sam Darnold would be the pick at 1. Because
weaker.
I know you don't like that I'm with you. It's just the safe move. If you're Cleveland, I don't think you have the benefit of going with the highest ceiling. I think you got to go with the guy who you know or have the highest belief won't be a bust. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go to the next pick. Assuming the Giants don't trade, assuming they are staying at #2, can they pass on Saquon Barkley? Would they pass on Saquon Barkley?
Well, here's the real crux of it, is that would the Giants really pass on Sam Darnold? So all of this starts, you know, with the dominoes that potentially a Josh Allen selection at #1 starts to knock over. And you know, Nick, I don't know if they can pass on Darnold. Now, they've said they're not really in the quarterback market, and certainly when you hear them talk, and in particular their GM, when Gettleman talks, you get the sense like he doesn't want to touch a quarterback because there's almost too much pressure surrounding a pick of a quarterback. He's built that up so much in some of those press conferences that he's done. But if Darnold is there, that's going to be awful interesting. I happen to believe, with the conversations that I've had, that the pick for the Giants, if Darnold's available, is going to be either Darnold or Bradley Chubb. the defensive end for North Carolina State. I think he's the best pass rusher in the draft. And if you look at the blueprint for that organization, when they have won Super Bowls, they have always had a dominant pass rusher and a dominant pass rush. Generally, organizations try to follow their own blueprint. That's why I think Denver at 5 is going to be looking for a quarterback. And that's why I think the Giants will be deciding between a franchise quarterback of the future in Darnold and potentially a great pass rusher in Bradley Chubb.
Joel, all of these quarterbacks that we're talking about have upsides and downsides, and every couple of years we get a guy who's a bona fide first-round or top 10 guy who ends up slipping for whatever reason. Rounds go, picks go, and they keep dropping. Two guys I want to ask you about. Is it possible, could you see Josh Rosen slipping out of the top 10 and Lamar Jackson, which we've been talking about a lot, is it possible that he would slip out of the first round and then maybe get picked up a little bit later on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that Lamar Jackson right now is a borderline first round pick. He should have run the 40. It would have set him apart from some of these other quarterbacks. It doesn't mean that you're going to play a different position just because you can run a blazing fast 40. So that's a little bit concerning. He definitely improved as a passer enough to get selected very high. His tape is remarkable. That tape is going to save him in a lot of respects because this draft process has not gone all that well with him from a PR standpoint, from a representation standpoint, and certainly from kind of the stance that he doesn't want to play another position, i.e. doesn't necessarily want to help the organization in whatever way he can. He's a great player. I love his ability as a quarterback, but right now I think he's kind of a fringe first-round pick. Now, the slide for potentially Josh Rosen, I don't think it's there. Because with the third pick, Jenna, I think that the New York Jets are targeting Josh Rosen. I think he's the guy they want. He's the guy that they targeted when they made the move up to number 3, knowing that most likely Josh Rosen was going to be there at 3. That's why they didn't go up to 2 or 1 to try to get, a guy that they were targeting outside of Rosen in the quarterback class. So I think Rosen's the pick at 3. We'll see if that pans out because, again, in this scenario with Allen going 1 and potentially Chubb going 2, maybe Barkley, but potentially Chubb going 2, Sam Darnold would still be available for the Jets. And now you've got a question between Darnold and Rosen. So the Jets would have to make a decision at that point. But I think the slide, which is crazy to me because he's the safest pick, could be Darnold. If he won't get past 5. But we're talking about a guy that really should get selected number 1, and if he doesn't, I think to me that's a slide. But I don't think Rosen's in terms of a slide. I don't think he's getting past 6. So I don't think he's going to get on one of those Aaron Rodgers-esque kind of sitting in the green room waiting for, what was it, 24?
The worst,
if I'm not
Joel.
mistaken.
It's the worst.
Yeah, Joe, I think it's very intriguing that you have Sam Darnold potentially being the guy who slides compared to Rosen, but which team, since you're there on the ground in Dallas, which team do you think might take that chance and move up? And one of these quarterbacks begins to slide, they jump on that quarterback.
I think it's Buffalo. CC, they have the ammunition, right? They've got all those picks built up that they can move up with. The most picks in the top, 100 picks in this draft. They're the team that I believe can get up there, whether it's 6 with Indianapolis if someone's still on the board, whether it's 4 with Cleveland, which is certainly a pick that's in play, 2 with the Giants. I mean, that's the only other issue I didn't discuss with the Giants is that if the Bills get panicked and they say, whoa, Darnold's available and we don't want to allow a team in our division in the New York Jets to potentially select him, they might throw the kitchen sink at the Giants to get up in front of their division mates and go in there and get a quarterback. But I certainly, CC, it's Buffalo. If there's a team that I was certain was going to trade up into the top 10 for a quarterback, it's the Buffalo Bills.
All right, Joel, let's remove the quarterbacks, remove Chubb and Barkley, because I feel like 90% of the discussion has been about these 5 quarterbacks and those 2 players. There are going to be all pros, maybe Hall of Famers elsewhere. Who's the best player in the draft that is not a quarterback and not those 2 guys we talk all about, Chubb and Barkley? The best skill position guy, not one of those 2.
Best skill position?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's anything non-quarterback, not Chubb or Barkley. Pardon me.
I think it's Quentin Nelson. It's like the non-sexiest conversation of all time, an offensive guard, right? But I tell you what, when you're a quarterback, you love that offensive guard. Quentin Nelson is a great player, and I think he's the top overall prospect in the draft. If you're telling me you got to bet your mortgage on one of these guys having a gold jacket at the end of their career, it's Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame. He's nasty, which you want in an offensive lineman. He's great in pass protection. He's dominant in run blocking, and what I love most about him, guys, is he sets that pocket. So as a quarterback, the worst thing you can do is have the pocket kind of dump into my lap. But if I have a guard that can set in the front of the pocket and I can step up, guess what I can do? Get the ball down the field to Chris Carter. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to hurt the defense with. He allows me to do that. I think Quentin Nelson is an all-pro caliber player very early in his career.
Joel Klatt, you're a smart guy. You're a smart guy.
I make one comment, Joel. I make one comment, and it follows me everywhere.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your insight. We'll be watching tonight, of course, and then hopefully hearing more about everything tomorrow. More First Things First right after this.
Jan, no worries.
Thanks.
Colts taking Quentin Nelson at 6.
Yes. Got to.